They are our grandfathers, brothers, mothers and sisters, neighbors, heroes. Canada's veterans, their courage, service, and sacrifice have kept us strong, proud, and free. On November 11th, let's remember them. Visit veterans.gc.ca/IRemember.
He got home from the service as the spring began its turn. 12 long months away. He folded up his uniform with the medals tucked inside. Started living for today. But the present could not find him, nor could his wife and kids. He was there, but he was gone. And soon his only comfort was a bottle and his gun. Something right that went so wrong. The silence keeps on coming as the movie plays again. You can smell that yellow dust and death hanging on the wind. And we thought the war was over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield. He sits outside the courthouse with his pant legs tucked away, and no one knows his name. One wrong step there in the sand put him where he is today. One more just the same. All his memories live there in the space below his knees, back when he was whole. But that IED didn't just relieve him of his legs. It blew apart his soul.
We had a lot of married people. It was hard on them, being away over Christmas.
Well, we used to sing I'll Be Home for Christmas, 1945. We sang that.
All we got is one can of Irish stew in a can thrown to us. Here you are, that's your Christmas dinner. Because we're up in the front line, you see.
It seemed like Christmas, and it didn't seem like Christmas. It was too far from home, too much danger, a lot of discomfort.
We had our famous Christmas in the trenches. Christmas in a trench is not funny because that night a light snow was falling, just enough to cover the ground. And we said, back home it's midnight mass. All of a sudden on the loudspeakers, the Germans played Holy Night and Lili Marlene and all those things. It was tough.
We were promised that we would have turkey and a real Canadian Christmas dinner. We were the last to get there. One of the girls said, "Those pots sound empty." And we said, "No, they couldn't be." And she said, "There won't be anything left." We said, "This is Christmas, there will be enough left for us." And got down to the bottom, and there was nothing for the 4 of us or 6 of us. It was just empty.
The Allied soldiers started shooting phosphorus bombs of different colors, blue, red, yellow. It was quite a... But after that, you start thinking.
And my position was up in a roof of a house, like up in the attic of a house. And I had knocked a brick out. I was doing observation up there. And the German soldier come up and I had to shoot him on Christmas Day. That bothers me so much.
Christmas night, one of the soldiers that we had with us committed suicide. And that really affected us.
Christmas morning dawned, we got up, the Japanese brought a tree in, which we decorated. They brought a couple of big long tables in, which we put some of these linen sheets on. Then they brought in a few loaves of bread, extra rice, oranges, even 24 quarts of beer. They lined us all up around the table, took pictures, and took the whole damn thing out again.
We used to play Christmas carols over the wireless sets and over the systems that we had, and you could hear Christmas carols in the front lines, and that kind of made you feel nice that it was Christmas Day. At least we're not fighting. At least it's peaceful today.
On Christmas Day, 1945, when I came back to Canada, this was a lively Christmas, full of joy, full of love. You can't imagine what it is compared to the one you had spent before. It was day and night.
Just relieve him of his legs. It blew apart his soul. And the silence keeps on coming as the movie plays again. You can smell that yellow dust and death flying on the wind. And we thought the war was over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield. If you're wearing loafers, you ain't walked the burning sands, and you ain't never had to shoot another living man. It don't matter if we won, it don't matter if we lost. They were following their orders, no matter the cost.
By the end of 1915, there were 73 national munitions factories, as well as the armaments firms and all the privately owned industries converted to war work. American machines and British improvisation were the tools with which Lloyd George achieved success. The skilled craftsman gave way to the machine minder. Victorian methods gave way to mass production.
In the closing months of 1915, the national factories' combined output was 200,000 shells, nearly all of the lighter natures. In the following year, 1916, their total output was nearly 7 million, more than half of which was medium and heavy shell.
Not only in munitions did women take over more and more jobs that had always been traditionally a man's. They repaired gas holders. They shoveled coal into the retorts that made the gas. Heavy work, hot and dirty.
She's a lassie from Lancashire, just a lassie from Lancashire. She's a lassie I love so dear.
The first women conductors appeared on buses and trams.
Though she dresses in clothes.
Middle-class girls, too, left their sheltered life in the home and went to work as clerks in offices or became nurses. For women, the war marked a social revolution.
A while you kiss me sad adieu. When the clouds roll by, I'll come to you. Then the skies will seem more blue down in Lover's Lane, my dearie. Wedding bells will ring.
It was terribly hard, terribly monotonous, but we had a purpose and we meant to do that work, and we did. There wasn't a drone in the factory, and every girl worked and worked and worked. I didn't hear one grumble, and I hardly ever heard or knew of one that stayed out, because she had her man in mind, and we all had. I myself was working with sailors' wives from the 3 ships that sank, Abuka, Cressy, Hogue, and it was pitiful to see them. If anyone had a letter from France, we just read it, and we got to know all the girls' sweethearts or husbands. We got to know all their Christian names. And when we used to go into the factory in the morning, how's Tommy? How's Dick? How's so-and-so? Have you heard from him? And of course, some would shed a tear and say they hadn't, which meant what had happened to them.
Free against the sky, and the way we seem to lose them when they get back to the world. Can someone tell me why? That the silence keeps on coming as the movie plays again. You can smell that yellow dust and death hanging on the wind. Oh, we thought the war was over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield. Yes, we pray the war is over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield.
And what was amazing to me was that I very naively started hearing this statement that I never fully understood. Because right after 9/11, you start hearing this idea where people come up to you and they say, well, thank you for your service. And I just kind of followed in and started saying the same things to all my soldiers. This is even before I deployed. But I really had no idea what that even meant. I just said it because it sounded right. I said it because it sounded like the right thing to say to people who had served overseas. Thank you for your service. But I had no idea what the context was or what it even meant to the people who heard it. When I first came back from Afghanistan, I thought that if you make it back from conflict, then the dangers were all over. I thought that if you made it back from a conflict zone, that somehow you could kind of wipe the sweat off your brow and say, I'm glad I dodged that one. Without understanding that for so many people as they come back home, the war keeps going. It keeps playing out in all of our minds. It plays out in all of our memories. It plays out in all of our emotions. Please forgive us if we don't like being in big crowds. Please forgive us when we spend 1 week in a place that has 100% light discipline, because you're not allowed to walk around with white lights, because if anything has a white light, it can be seen from miles away, versus if you use little green or little blue lights, they cannot be seen from far away. So please forgive us if out of nowhere we go from having 100% light discipline to then a week later being back in the middle of Times Square, and we have a difficult time adjusting to that. Please forgive us when you transition back to a family who has completely been maneuvering without you. And now when you come back, it's not that easy to fall back into a sense of normality, because the whole normal has changed. I remember when I came back, I wanted to talk to people. I wanted people to ask me about my experiences. I wanted people to come up to me and tell me, what did you do? I wanted people to come up to me and tell me, what was it like? What was the food like? What was the experience like? How are you doing? And the only questions I got from people was, did you shoot anybody? And those were the ones who were even curious enough to say anything. Because sometimes there's this fear and there's this apprehension that if I say anything, I'm afraid I'll offend, or I'm afraid I'll trigger something. So the common default is just say nothing. The problem with that is then it feels like your service was not even acknowledged. Like no one even cared. Thank you for your service. And we move on.